Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So, look, we recently finished having our look at Miracle Twin, and we are just beginning our look at a remix bout. So I figured this was a pretty gosh darn good time to count down the 10 best cards from the Miracle Twin expansion. Bearing in mind these will all be in our Unified Mind set. Although this isn't the top 10 cards from Unified Minds, because remember that will also be bringing in 2 of the mini sets over in Japan. GG the End and Sky Legend, if anyone's wondering. Now, I say top 10, there's a lot of good cards in this set, or a lot of cards of similar quality, let's say. So it's actually a top 12, and I'm not even sorry. In at number 12, Blue Strategy. It's a new supporter card that lets you draw until you've got 8 cards in your hand at the end of your turn. It's not going to be replacing stuff like Cynthia, because quite frankly, you often need cards during your turn, and if your opponent drops something like a Marshadow or a Judge on their turn, yowza. But I will say, decent draw card, and in some decks that can afford to play it, it's going to be really good. In at number 11, we've got Giant Bomb, which the name leads to some confusion when you put it in a YouTube video, put it that way. You attach it to a Pokemon, and it gets discarded at the end of your opponent's next turn. But if you would take 180 or more damage, you put 10 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Very much like Bursting Balloon, just so long as you would take 180 damage. Side note, pair it with Slacking, that puts 4 damage counters on when you take any damage, and you can potentially be doing 14 damage counters when you're attacked. Yeah, that's pretty gosh darn good. In at number 10, we've got Pokemon Research Lab or Laboratory. I've seen it translated as either. It's a new stadium card, and, it ends your turn, which is sad, but it also lets you search for 2 Pokemon that evolve from unidentified fossil and put them straight onto your bench. Now, that would work for stuff like Aerodactyl. It would not work for Kabutops, but it totally would work for Kabuto. Kabuto does evolve from unidentified fossil. Kabutops evolves from Kabuto. This is going to really, really help fossil decks. Kabutops and Aerodactyl are just 2 of the options that we've got. I have done videos on all of these cards. I'll pop links in the description if you want to dig into them a little bit more. In the laboratory video, I do dig into all of the options. Coming in at number 9, we've got Beheeyem. Now, I could see this seeing no play whatsoever, but the potential here is huge. For free colourless energy, bearing in mind triple acceleration energy is totally a thing right now, you shuffle Beheeyem and all cards attached to it into your deck, and then item lock your opponent while doing 90 damage. But because you shuffle into your deck before the end of your turn, you don't lose triple acceleration energy. Yeah, that's lovely. It means that you can just reuse triple acceleration energy over and over again. And doing 90 damage while item locking your opponent means it's got a much better chance to be relevant than Luxio did. I think there's some potential here, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of psychic Pokemon that might see no damage but might be amazing, in at number 8, we've got Aegislash. Now, Aegislash is really, it seems like it's just a Mewtwo and Mew counter. Like, it seems kind of blatant. The great news is its ability is a built-in rescue energy. If it gets KO'd, you put all the Pokemon into your hand. So, essentially, every turn you should be benching the basic, evolving into the stage 1 and evolving into the stage 2. And then your Aegislash gets KO'd and you've got a new basic to put down. A stage 1 to evolve your existing basic, a stage 2 to evolve your existing stage 1, and you've always got it. The attack for 1 colourless energy does 10 damage for each item card in your discard pile, up to a maximum of 13. Now, it's just short of KOing a Mewtwo and Mew until you realise that Shrine of Punishment exists. This is a great counter. Plus 130 takes out a lot of relevant non-GX Pokemon. frankly, ladies and gentlemen, Aegislash could be part of a really, really nice counter deck. While we're talking about Psychic Pokemon, in at number 7, we've got LATIOS-GX. Now, clearly, I'd prefer it if it was Latias, but there's so much to like about it, I'm gonna ignore all of the downsides. Now, it's got an ability which says you cannot use it if you've got 4 or fewer Pokemon in play, but then again, Power Plant will deal with that quite nicely. And it's got a GX attack that stops your opponent using GX attacks, but having said that, you've got to use your GX attack, and they just don't get them, but they haven't wasted an attack, so not loving that. But 1 Psychic, 2 Colorless Energy, 120 damage, prevent all damage done to it by Tag Team Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. Now, bearing in mind that you can use Malamar to get the energy on here, and then you can just sit there blocking tag teams for the rest of the game, yeah, we've got some potential here. It's not the kind of card where you can just put it down against a Reshiram and Charizard deck and go, ha ha ha, now I win. They're going to have non-GX Pokemon, they may have some gusting effects, etc, etc. That's not the point. The point is, it is another tool in the arsenal of so many of these decks that can really help, and given that at the moment the best 2 decks are probably Reshiram and Charizard and Pikachu and Zekrom, yeah, they're both Tag Team GXs, we could use this. In at number 6, a deck which has seen a surprising amount of play and success already, it's Breloom. And Breloom, well, what is kind of cool is it's a grass Pokemon, but it's a fighting Pokemon. It uses grass energy, but it hits for fighting weakness. I've just mentioned Pikachu and Zekrom, way better to be hitting fighting weakness right now than grass. The relevant attack here, if the defending Pokemon is asleep, you do 120 damage. Why, yes, that is the perfect amount of damage to KO a Pikachu and Zekrom. I'm so glad you noticed. Even if you're not KOing a Pikachu and Zekrom, this still does quite a bit of damage. Now, we use Mareep of all things to put them to sleep, and then you use stuff like a skateboard to free retreat. Mareep can put your opponent's active asleep if it's active. But the other card, which I'm lumping in here as well, it's my list, I'll do it if I like it, gosh darn it. Also, I didn't know where to put it on the list. It seemed like putting it where Breloom was a sensible option. Slumber Forest. And Slumber Forest very simply says that if your Pokemon is asleep, you've got to flip 2 coins. And they've both got to be heads, or you don't wake up from sleep. Now, for a Pokemon that relies on your opponent's Pokemon being asleep, yeah, that seems pretty gosh darned important. In at number 5, Excadrill, or as I am rather bullishly claiming, better Oranguru. You see, it's got an attack for a single fighting energy that lets you shuffle any 4 cards from your discard pile into your deck. Now, this is compared to Oranguru, who puts 3 cards on the bottom of your deck. Yes, it's a stage 1, yes, it's for a coloured energy, but it's got a much better attack, and it's shuffling in 4 decks rather than putting 3 on the bottom of your deck. When you're putting 3 on the bottom of your deck, you're really saying you've got to use cards like Looker or Ingo and Emmett, or just hope you've got a really tiny deck. Whereas if you're shuffling the cards in, you can use stuff like Lily and expect to potentially grab them, which you cannot do with Oranguru. Maybe it being a stage 1 will hurt it too much, but this Oranguru is really good at seeing play with Shedinja, so it doesn't give up any prizes, as a little bit of a stall deck, a disruption deck, so to speak. I think Excadrill's better. Yes, it's a stage 1, I get that, but it's got a better attack, and a better typing, and a better weakness, and a better recovery attack. I'm in on Excadrill, ladies and gentlemen. I am in on Excadrill. In at number 4, Dragonite-GX. Now look, I know that this is a stage 2. Although do remember, we've got Lance. So there's nothing to stop us using Lance to get 2 of these bad boys out at once. But it's just so good. I mean, look, I don't mind the GX attack. The GX attack is Sightseer, but you draw till 10 cards rather than 5. It's fine. But 5 energy, 270, I adore this. You can use Welder, you can use Malamar, I'd suggest you probably don't. You can use Tapu Koko Prism Star, but mostly, ladies and gentlemen, you can use triple acceleration energy. And you're doing 270. Other than Mega Sableye and Tyranitar and Magikarp and Wailord, this gets a one-hit KO on everything. I'm fine with this, ladies and gentlemen. And you got to discard free energy, but triple acceleration energy is going to be discarded anyway, so I'm fine with it. I adore this. Start combining it with a couple of other Dragonite, maybe the other one from Sun and Moon 11. That could be fun. And you are in for, I think, a genuinely really good, viable deck. Could be wrong, but I am in on Dragonite until somebody proves me wrong. And I'm afraid the rest of the list is made up of Tag Team GXs. I'm sorry. In at number 2, we've got Slowpoke and Psyduck. What is relevant about this really is the main attack that for 2 water energy lets you discard as many supporter cards from your hand as you like, and you do 40 damage for each supporter card discarded. We've then got Lapras, which lets you search for a Misty's Wish, and Misty's Wish lets you search for any free supporters and put them in your hand, and you've got the makings of a really good deck. The ideal situation here is 4 Lapras on the bench, so you've always got minimum 4 Misties in hand, and then you play a Misty, so you go from 4 supporters in hand to 6. That's 240. Look, this builds up really, really quickly. Like, super quickly. It's genuinely relevant, and it's hitting the best weakness in the game on Reshiram and Charizard. This has been doing quite a bit of winning over in Japan, and I think it's going to carry on. Though it's not been doing as much winning as Mega Sableye and Tyranitar. This is a phenomenal card. The main attack here for 5 energy, and we should mention it's got more HP than anything other than Magikarp and Wailord. 280 is massive. 5 energy, 210, but if you KO an EX or a GX, you take 1 more prize card. Yet against basic or stage 1 GXs, think things like Dedenne, you're just flat out taking free prizes as if they were a tag team. You soften up a tag team with something else and KO it with this, oh look, 4 prizes. 4 prizes! That's 70% of the way towards a win! That's 2/3 of what you need! I was rounding up. It's redonk, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely redonk. Now, speaking of redonk, the GX attack cost is silly. 5 energy, 250 meh. 5 energy plus 5, 10 in total, for 250, and you discard the top 15 cards of your opponent's deck. That's amazing. But really, I mean, look, discarding a quarter of your opponent's deck will very often just win flat out. But most of the list playing this over in Japan, and it's won a couple tournaments over there already, more than a couple, they're playing 10 or 11 energy. That's too much. 10 energy needed when you're only playing 10. It's too much to ask. In terms of the attack cost here, we're actually alright. You can use Naganadel to get energy on the field, and then we're getting a Weavile. Incidentally, Weavile was not eligible for this list because it came out in the Darkrai and Umbreon deck, not in Miracle Twin. But that's got an ability like the old Hydreigon that just lets you move all your darkness energy around the field. It's a little bit silly. You also see it played with Wishful Baton to keep that energy on, and it's just awesome. Not to mention, we're also getting Night City, which gives you free retreat if you're a basic darkness Pokemon. And yeah, this is a powerful card. However, it's not the best. That's Mewtwo and Mew. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You probably could have seen this coming. Mewtwo and Mew, I am in love with this card. I think it's going to go down as certainly in the top 3 Tag Team GXs we ever get. Yes, I know we've not seen them all. If not number 1. It can use the attack of any GX either in play of yours or in your discard pile. So either discard it or have it on the bench. It's crazy, ladies and gentlemen. It is absolutely crazy. You can use something like Battle Compressor in Expanded to just discard a bunch of Stage 2 GXs and then copy them. You can use Dimension Valley to reduce the attack cost by 1. This is a Pokemon so good I had to make a second video about how nuts it is in Expanded. There are so many combos with this, I barely even know where to start. But remember, if you're playing a Reshiram and Charizard deck, there's nothing to stop you using Welder onto this, so if your opponent's playing something like a Frostlass to counter you, yeah, don't worry about it, just use Mewtwo and Mew, and Frostlass does very little. It's number 1, and I honestly don't think it's even close. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that's my top 10, 12. I think there's a lot of really good cards in this set, but I would very much like to know what you think. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and remember, if you drop a full top 10, I will love you for it. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.